Hi, Paul. Welcome to 12 Questions.
Great to be here, Rohit.
It's fantastic to have you here because, yes, you come with a lot of experience in the industry. And of course, you have been guiding and coaching businesses as well. Do you want to take us through the journey of your career, please?
Yeah, look, the short journey is I was never meant to work at the company that I worked for 18 years. So I left university, all through university, I worked for a particular company. And when I left, I was told under no certain terms that because your father works there, you'll never get a job. And then they had a change of heart. They said, do a job for 6 weeks. And I stayed there for 18 years. And that company was Coca-Cola. Wow. And it was a fantastic company. It was, back then, sadly now, sugar. Actually, Coke, no sugar is the number one selling product now, which, thinking back 18 or now, 25 years ago, I would never have thought that be the case. But anyway, it is. But back then it was a fantastic company. I had a brilliant career. I started as a rep, ended as a director. Always thought global, but acted local was one of their key things. And then due to a couple of reasons. One is I wanted to run my own business, and the second is health. I left and started my own businesses.
And how has been the journey with your own business? I mean, this is generally, you would say brave people do this, but yes, you went ahead and did it. So you must be brave. Tell me, how has been the journey so far?
Yeah, well, look, I think, what they always say, if you really know what it was going to be like, you'd never do it. So I sort of left with enthusiasm, burnt the bridge, and started as a coach, quickly realized that I made a better mentor or a business advisor. And I didn't really... I started working with large businesses or senior executives in large businesses, coaching them, and realised that wasn't what I wanted to do because, to be honest, I wanted to really lead that into that whole environment. I started with small businesses, realised they needed two things. One was technology and the other was people. So I built a technology business and a people business and sort of rolled from there. But to answer your question directly, it's been a roller coaster.
Fair enough. And I think that's what an SME or small business generally is. You're a small business working with small businesses. So from that perspective, of course, you're looking at the roller coaster ride of small business owners themselves, and then you're looking at your own business ride as well. Do you enjoy working with SMEs? And yes, probably you answered this already, but what makes you drive and go towards SMEs and work with them?
Look, I always love when there's a direct correlation to someone's lifestyle and livelihood and what they do. So I'm not discrediting anyone in corporate. I think it's fantastic if you're still in corporate. But when you're a small business owner, you everything, the buck stops with you, which everyone says. But it really is like, if you're helping someone, you can make a significant difference in their lives. Whereas if they're just in a role or getting a promotion, it's not as big of an impact. So I love making that really large impact, so that's why. But also I like the speed of decision making. Yes. I think, corporates these days, my wife still works in corporate, and I think it's becoming harder and harder to make decisions. It's you're spending a lot more time, not progressing the business, a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy, etc., which is fine. Some people love that. That's just not my personal favourite. So that's why I love working with small businesses.
Fair enough. And you're right, actually, it makes direct impact to somebody's life. And that impact can be significant in some cases. I give credit back to some of the mentors I've worked with in my life on a regular basis. If they weren't there, I don't think, our business target integration would have been anywhere. So I always have great respect. And I sometimes can go back to some of my people that you're guiding, if they are junior from college, from university, you're telling them that, look, if you want to start a business, start with a right mentor. And there's no harm in changing mentors for a period of time, but stick with one for a good period of time, because once they know you, they're going to get better in their own recommendation as well, because they know you better.
Yes. Yeah. And look, and the flip side of that, though, is I see some people, hang on for too long. And, I ask them, it becomes more of a personal relationship than actually results-driven relationship. So it can work the other way as well. But look, I know for me, a minimum of 12 months to 2 years, I used to, and I still do actually. I have a mentor in my business for different reasons and different purposes, but make sure it's very specific, the outcome you want. And then if you're not achieving that outcome together, well, then it's time to change.
Exactly. Definitely. So look, we'll move on to 12 questions. Thank you for taking us through the quick journey of your business. If the 12 questions round is going to be very precise, very concise, we'll go through take some time in answering them, but then at the same time, a direct answer would be great. And then we will move on to a little bit more about your business and wrap this up. How's that?
Yep, sounds great.
Brilliant. So, Paul, first question first. What's your morning routine?
My morning routine is a daily reflection. So it's a Google document that has got the best that I've learned over I won't say how long, but let's say it's post 50 years. So it's in one document, and it really gets me to be centered on what's most important in my life. So I never miss reading that. And the other one is exercise. I always do my stretching both morning and night.
Well done. What's the greatest achievement so far? You've been in the career for a good long period of time. And when I say one greatest achievement so far, I think it can be difficult to pick one, but I'm sure you have something in mind.
Yeah, well, what's the saying? Everyone's got a great book in them, but not many get out. Well, I actually got one out. So whilst I was on dialysis, I actually wrote a book and published a book called Build, Live, Give. And I suppose that's my greatest thing. I don't know if anyone watching or listening here has been on dialysis, but for some it's very challenging, and I was very fortunate that I got to use my time wisely.
Well done. And I think, health is one story I would like to definitely bring out of you later on, just to give people a bit of an inspiration, how you can go through some difficult phases of life and how you come out winning. Move on to the next question. What's your favorite funny memory that happened at work?
Yeah, so in 1998, I was flying to the US from Australia, and in New Zealand, I was coming out of the plane, and coming out of first class was one of the most famous sports people in the world. And I said, would you mind punching me? So have you got any idea who that might be, Rohit?
Go on. It wasn't Mike Tyson by any chance?
No, it was 98, so he wasn't quite
98.
It was, no. Muhammad Ali. So I got the chance to briefly meet him, and that was a highlight. I've met a lot of famous people and sports people in my life, but I think that was probably the most enjoyable moment that was brought to me by working in a great company like Coca-Cola, where we travelled often and learnt. But that was it.
Yeah, you were probably the only person, definitely the best person who, going in, could you punch me, please, and be happy about it.
Sadly, his Parkinson's was pretty onset by then, and his hand withered, but he did give me a little punch in the arm. So there you go.
And it kept, the arm was sore for a few days, I assume. Tell me one thing that you regret doing or not doing.
I think the biggest regret, and I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but probably just staying in corporate as long as I did. I think, I've enjoyed working in my own business. I've enjoyed mentoring other business owners. I wish I had probably left earlier than I did.
I sometimes regret about not having a cloning machine, but sure, that's another story altogether. What's the biggest challenge at work? And I'm talking about the current business. I'm talking about the current environment. You can cover, micro or macro as you like.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing is, I went from general consultants into working specifically with cloud consultant SaaS partners. And it's the first time that I've ever built the audience and then built services off the back of it. And it's taken time, right? It certainly drained my cash flow making that decision. So, at times you think, do I just go the easier route, or do I stick with the journey? So, positioning yourself right, and I suppose getting leads out of the long tail content, the podcasts and other things I'm doing. That's probably the biggest challenge.
Well done. So work-life balance isn't a bigger challenge. The next question relates to that, How do you maintain the work-life balance?
Yeah, look, I read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People in 1993 by Stephen Covey. And I've really lived those principles. So that daily reflection has got my key values, etc. And I make sure that I block in my personal before work. So that's always the case. And also allow enough flexibility that I can support what's most important to me is my family. I can do that. And the other one, I'm very disciplined. So working at home for myself for 12 years now, I'm a very disciplined, planned and organised person. So I think that helps. And lastly, I've got a great team. I couldn't be achieve what I have without the quality or that balance of life without my team. And, I've gone through a transplant, I've gone through dialysis, I've gone through a lot of health issues, and my team have been there to support me all the time.
And I think that's also easily leads me into the next question, which is around what's your most treasured possession? It can be tangible or it can be intangible. Come on.
Yeah, well, this is tangible, and that's a very close friend gave me a kidney. He donated, and that's by far my greatest in the possession, that every minute of the day I make sure I'm doing the best I can to always be respectful and thank him for an amazing gift and sacrifice that he went through.
That's amazing. That's can't beat that anywhere. Any favorite quote, book or movie that has inspired you?
Yeah, so I mentioned it, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I think always start with the end in mind is a small quote out of that, and I think that's something that I live by each and every day.
Well done. Well done. What do you do to unwind? That's the end of the day. You've had a very long day, struggles, talking to clients and sometimes trying to make people understand where they don't want to understand. What do you do in the evening, afternoon?
Yeah. I walk the dog, and sometimes normally I'm on the phone. So my unwinding is I'm an extrovert, so I love to talk. So that'll be talking to my dad, members of my family, my closest. In my daily reflection, I've got 6 friends that I would do anything for. So I'm normally calling one of those, or I'm walking with my wife and we're talking about things. But the dog's the best way to unwind.
Nice. Good. What's your vision for next 5 to 10 years? You can pick and choose 5 years or 10 years or both.
Yeah, look, I'm hoping to get it done in 5, but I'd be happy with 10. Would be to help 1,000 cloud consultants to leave a legacy, both in their business and personal life.
And what number are you on then?
Good question. I think I've directly worked with about 273, I think it was at the last count. So
nice.
Well done. I'm on track, but I think once again it's the depth. So
sure.
A lot of people I used to help with less impact. I think as you help with more people, the numbers won't go as fast. But that's what I love to do.
Good point. Yeah, numbers versus in depth, but you're keeping account. And as they say, if you're able to measure it, then you'll be able to manage it, and then you'll be able to achieve it as well. So well done. What advice would you give your younger self? Not that doesn't mean that you're not young. Younger self.
Younger self. Good question. So travel for me. So okay. I was fortunate that when I signed the deal to work at Coca-Cola, I said I want to take a 4-week block, which was unheard of back in those days. A 4-week block to travel overseas, which I did. But I wish I had really taken that 12 months. That I was going to, or take longer periods of time. My wife backpacks. She's seen a lot more of the world than I have. And to me, I just love traveling. And the gift that I've left my children is travel. So we've taken them overseas lots of times to really get to understand a culture that's, we're very lucky here I live in Melbourne, Australia. It's a brilliant place to live, and it's good to, show them different living environments, which they can self-identify and how lucky they've actually got it.
Yeah, and I think, traveling opens up your brain, your eyes, your thinking process significantly. So from that perspective, that's a very good advice for anybody. Now, the last question, and I'm going to, give you ample time for this one. Generally, we go 12 questions, very rapid, but I want to hear that inspirational story. I've heard it, but I think for the audience of 12 questions, it's important to, know your inspirational story, your health issues, and how you made the most out of it, and you are where you are today.
So I suppose everyone it doesn't matter what you do in life, you've got to deal with the cards you're being dealt. And I was dealt with cards where I've got an inherited condition. It's called polycystic kidney disease. And I never met my grandfather who passed from it. My mother, we nearly lost her in her early 40s. She was passed, I think she was age 72 when she finally passed, but she spent a long time on dialysis and was always unwell. And, you know, it's hard sometimes to watch you know, the person you love suffering, but you also know that that's coming your way. And thanks to modern technology, I was able to avoid the 12 years that Mum spent on dialysis and the other things she had. And I, got a transplant in 2019 from Brendan that I mentioned. And now I found out that it's a 50-50 at birth. So I've got a daughter, Tamsin, son, Liam, and Liam's inherited the condition. So he's 19. I found out when I was 18 because his blood pressure is so high because the kidneys, the cyst effectively impact the function of the kidneys. And then in the old days, you died of a heart attack. These days, hopefully I got a transplant, so that saved my heart. And then hopefully in the future, it'll be a better outcome. But, that really, I suppose, gets me to really appreciate how lucky I am and therefore try to help people as much as I can. I think it's easy when you're unwell to worry about you, but I've always had the view, well, the best way not to think of your health is to make sure that you're helping other people. And that's what I do. I continue to do it within working with the cloud consultants, and I also do that within personal life as much as I can. As an example, this month I'm going to, I think it's about my 11th doctor's exam, where I'm one of the patients that they examine to pass their final years, and I'm always trying to do things around my condition to help people as much as I can.
That's very inspirational, I must say, knowing, yes, somebody in your personal life is going through difficulties with their health. And yes, you're right. I think once we know that the personal life or health is not well, we try and help people. But I think this story should inspire people who have great health at the moment to help others while you have that health, while you have that capability. Go and help others if you can. Yes, well done. Fair play to your friend who donated the kidney, and not a lot of people do that. So yes, well done. And Brendan, if you're listening to this, fair play to you. Well done. Paul, thank you for your time. That's all we have in the time in the show today. But yes, if there is anything else that you would like to pass on to the audience of 12 questions, feel free. This can be business or anything that you would like to cover.
Yeah, look, I think if you, on a personal note, if you haven't had the chance to become or mark yourself as a donor, I think, I'm testament to just how much it changes someone's life. I was lucky that I got a live donor. But if someone does pass, or you pass in particular, it'd be great to help other people. So if you haven't do that, and from a work context, you can just find out more about me and how I could potentially help you or others that you know at paulhigginsmentoring.com.
Thank you, Paul. Have a fantastic evening ahead now.
Thanks, Rohit.